You're lying in bed at night, scrolling through your phone, and a notification pops up. It's a purchase confirmation. $400 for something you've never seen, never heard your partner mention, and definitely never agreed to. And the worst part? It's not the first time. You've noticed things before. A new jacket that appeared out of nowhere, a receipt stuffed deep in a drawer, a credit card statement that came while you were at work and somehow disappeared before you got home. You told yourself it was nothing. You told yourself you were being paranoid. But that pit in your stomach? That's not paranoia. That's financial infidelity, and it's more common in relationships than actual physical infidelity. My name is Oric, and I spend way too much time thinking about the hidden ways money destroys relationships. If you're someone who shares finances with a partner but secretly feels like you don't have the full picture, or honestly, if you're the one hiding things and you're starting to wonder if it's a bigger deal than you've been telling yourself, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Here's the thing. When most people think about financial infidelity, they imagine some extreme scenario, like a spouse secretly gambling away the retirement account or hiding a second family with a whole separate mortgage. And yes, those things happen, but the data tells a much more uncomfortable story. According to a 2023 survey by the National Endowment for Financial Education, 43% of adults in combined finance relationships admitted to committing some form of financial deception against their partner. 43%, nearly half. And when you break that number down, it's not mostly extreme cases. It's small stuff, regular, everyday, quietly corrosive stuff. We're talking about hiding purchases, making financial decisions without telling your partner, lying about income, having a secret savings account, carrying debt your partner doesn't know about. And here's what gets me. 85% of those same respondents said financial deception had a significant negative impact on their relationship. So people know it's damaging, they're doing it anyway. That right there is the psychology we need to talk about today. Now you might be thinking, Oric, hiding a $60 purchase isn't the same as lying about a gambling debt. And you're right, there's obviously a spectrum here. But the reason I want you to stop dismissing the small stuff is because of what the small stuff actually represents and where it almost always leads. Let me give you a real scenario. Marcus and Priya have been together for 6 years. They share a joint checking account for bills and groceries, but they each kept their own individual accounts when they moved in together. Totally reasonable, right? Here's the thing though. Priya started a small online resale business about 2 years ago. It was making decent money, about $1,200 a month on a good month. She never mentioned it to Marcus, not because she was doing something wrong, but because she liked having something that was just hers, her money, her control, her freedom fund, as she privately called it. Over 2 years, she'd quietly accumulated $18,000 in an account Marcus didn't know existed. Now tell me, is that financial infidelity? She wasn't stealing from him. She wasn't spending their shared money. She was earning her own income and saving it privately. Most people I present this scenario to are genuinely split on the answer. But here's what I want you to sit with. Marcus and Priya were making joint decisions about whether they could afford a vacation, whether to buy a house, whether they should take on a car payment, and every single one of those conversations happened with incomplete information. Marcus was making major life decisions based on a financial picture that was fundamentally inaccurate. That is financial infidelity, not because Priya was evil, but because the secrecy warped their shared reality. This is where it gets really interesting, because the psychology of why people hide money from their partners almost never has anything to do with the money itself. Researchers at the University of Arizona found that the #1 reason people engage in financial deception in relationships is not greed, not selfishness, it's the fear of conflict. People hide purchases because they don't want the argument. They keep a secret account because they're scared of what happens if the relationship ends. They lie about debt because they're ashamed, and shame is a wall that makes honesty feel impossible. And this is the trap, because by avoiding the conflict today, they guarantee a much bigger, much more destructive conflict later. Think about compound interest for a second, and I mean this literally and emotionally.
A lie that costs you a $200 argument in year one of a relationship, if unaddressed, becomes a $200 argument plus 2 years of compounding resentment, plus the discovery of more secrets, plus the broken trust that colors every future money conversation you ever try to have. The emotional interest on financial lies is brutal. It doesn't depreciate, it appreciates. Let me walk you through the real math of what hidden financial behavior costs, because this isn't just an emotional problem, it has hard dollar consequences. Let's say your partner is carrying $15,000 in credit card debt you don't know about. National average interest rate on credit cards right now is hovering around 21%. That $15,000 debt is costing roughly $3,150 per year in interest, $262 a month just to tread water. But here's the thing. If you knew about it, you might have made different choices. Maybe you don't buy the $18,000 car with a 7% auto loan because you're already drowning in high-interest debt on the other side of the household. Maybe you aggressively pay off the card first and save $3,150 annually going forward. Maybe you redirect that $262 a month into an investment account instead, and over 10 years at a 7% average return, that's over $43,000 in wealth you built together instead of hemorrhaging to a credit card company in secret. One secret, hidden for even a couple of years, can cost a couple $40,000 or more in compounding opportunity cost, and that's a conservative example. Now here's what most people don't realize about how financial infidelity actually enters a relationship. It rarely starts with a lie, it starts with a silence. Think about the beginning of most relationships. You don't sit down on the third date and exchange credit scores and debt statements. You talk about dreams and goals and what you want your life to look like, which is beautiful. But you're also, inadvertently, building a financial relationship on a foundation where transparency was never explicitly established as a value. Then, small avoidances start to feel normal, then they become habitual, and by the time you're 3, 4, 5 years in, the idea of having a truly honest, complete money conversation feels so foreign and so terrifying that people just don't. That's the architecture of financial infidelity, not a dramatic decision to deceive, 1,000 small decisions to not quite say the whole truth. Look, I want to be honest about something uncomfortable here. Financial secrecy in relationships is not always malicious. Sometimes it's protective, and sometimes it's genuinely necessary. Here's the reality. Financial abuse is real. In relationships where one partner uses money as a mechanism of control, the other partner having a secret savings account isn't infidelity, it's survival. The National Domestic Violence Hotline reports that financial control is present in 99% of domestic abuse. If your partner monitors every dollar you spend, restricts your access to money, or uses finances to keep you dependent, that is a fundamentally different situation. Having a hidden exit fund in that context is not deception, it's protection. I want to be clear about that distinction, because lumping those two things together does real harm. But for relationships where control isn't the issue, where both people are generally equal, generally safe, generally functioning, financial secrecy chips away at the intimacy and equality that healthy partnerships need to survive. So let's talk about what you actually do about this, because I don't want to just leave you sitting with the anxiety. You came here for something actionable. First thing, before you have any financial conversation with your partner, you need to get honest with yourself. Grab a piece of paper right now if you can, and write down 3 things: every debt you have and the interest rate, every account your partner may not know about, and any financial decision you made in the last year that you deliberately didn't mention. Nobody's grading this, it's just for you, but you cannot have an honest conversation with your partner about money if you haven't had an honest conversation with yourself first. Second thing, create what I call a monthly money date. Not a budget review, not a financial argument scheduled in advance, a money date. 15 to 20 minutes, once a month, same day, same time. The sole purpose is just to look at the complete picture together. All accounts, all balances, all debts, out loud, together. What this does psychologically is remove the drama. When transparency is routine, secrecy stops being an option that even feels available. The shame that drives hiding dissolves when openness becomes the norm. And third, and this is the one most people skip, have the explicit conversation about what financial transparency means in your relationship. Not assumed, not implied, said out loud. What counts as a purchase that needs to be discussed first? What's the threshold? $100? $500? Does each person get personal spending money with no questions asked? What accounts are considered shared versus individual? These aren't fun conversations, but they are the conversations that make all the other conversations easier. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. Financial infidelity isn't just about money, it's about the story you and your partner are telling about your life, and whether you're both living in the same story or parallel, diverging ones. When the financial picture is incomplete,